You know, what's up, everybody? Jacob's fucking stupid.
Right
out of the gate.
Fucking right off the bat. Thanks.
Think about you.
Jacob doesn't even know when the podcast starts. Is it Wednesday?
I don't know how old I am.
I don't know how old I am. How old am I?
Old enough, baby.
Old Jacob.
Enough.
Old Jakey Jake. Old,
Jacoby over here.
Old Jacoby. Old Jacoby One Kenobi.
Use the force.
Jacoby the Hut over here picking it up.
Put John Sacco's logo right here in the middle of the fucking thing screen here, so
Oh, please do.
that fucking anti-Semite AC Lockyer sees it and gets mad.
You mean that move?
How dare AC Locklear steal stolen ideas, you bastard.
Right? And that,
You steal the idea that I stole from someone
Yeah,
else.
how dare you.
look, dude, you think there's any loyalty in this fucking industry? Are you kidding?
There's no loyalty whatsoever in this industry.
There's no loyalty
I find that
in
out on a daily basis.
That shit's a bullshit, brother.
Like I got working with a dude on social media, and he everybody that maker products tags, he gets on their videos and big ups them and comments hey, yeah, on all of their shit, but anything that I have to do with, he just ignores it. He doesn't even like my videos or nothing. It's just like, dude, come on, man.
Dude, why
are
don't
you such a fucking
call Seth out like that?
It's not Seth. It's someone that works with Maker Products.
I just
But, dude, I just don't understand people's fucking I don't get it. Why are you such a fucking hater for?
You're both on the same page, right? I mean, you're both promoting maker products.
Yeah.
But even if you weren't, even if that's not the case, you're promoting something, someone else is promoting something, who cares?
Yeah. Well, we should be. There should be a mutual thing. Respect. So yeah, mutual respect. But once I noticed it, I was like, well, I'll do the same to you then. I'll keep that same energy. I'll be as toxic as possible. You guys know me. Yeah. I will take it. If that's the way you want to be about it, then that's the way we'll be about it. It's just all right, dude, that's cool.
I mean, Penny can be my middle name if it needs to.
Yeah. Yeah, I just, it gets, hi, Mom. Yeah, it gets old after a while. Dudes will, there's multiple instances within the window cleaning community itself where I've supported and pushed and talked about certain things like products and shit like that. And then once they get their fucking bag, it's fuck you. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, dude. All right, dude. Cool.
Push your bag, dude.
Yeah.
You got a few extra things than I did.
Right. Little do you know that when I was asked about your shit, hey, should we carry this? And I'm like, yes, you should. And then they did, and now you're fucking big timing me. It's like, okay. All right.
It's a weird behavior, man.
Yeah, it's strange, man. People are strange, dude. But I hold no animosity. It is what it is. I just won't fuck with you no more. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it's like they say, you can eat, just not at my table,
Yeah.
Well, me, and I'm like the dude off TikTok. I still hate motherfuckers from middle school.
Yeah.
Dude,
I try not to be that way. I try to give people as many chances as possible.
No, I'm whatever his name is from the Player Haters Ball. I am that guy. I eat you till the day.
I'm a softie, though. I mean, I know I don't put that off, but my mom knows, I'm a softie. I'll give you a bunch of chances. You're going to have to really fuck up bad for me to not fuck with you no more. You know what I mean? But, I'll just continue to give you that same energy you're giving me until you change the vibe. If you change the vibe and be like, hey, man, is this about me? Am I a douche? And I'm gonna, but yeah, you were kind of a douche. You're kind of a douche.
Man, never self-reflect. Blame everybody else, man. That's what I do.
Yeah.
Never self-reflect.
Yeah. It's never my fault.
It's that guy's fault.
It's like, what's his name? Medieval Wheatfield. He fucking hit me up this week. And he's like, hey, what's up? And I'm like, what? And then he didn't reply. I just I don't
You mean the world leader of Catan, dude, over there?
Fucking hair club just for men. You know what I mean?
Well, just mentally insane. Yeah, I like that one.
When is the outlaw window cleaner? Zen window cleaning death match. Listen, man, I'm going to be honest with you, dude. I'm not taking sides here because I like James. And, of course, I have a long history with fucking with Tim. But, like, I seen that post. Like, James could have not, like, said. He could have just moved right past that.
No, but he keeps on moving it around, talking about meth addict and that shit. That's just fucking wrong. I'm friends with the both of them, but...
Yeah, I said, you could have just, like, you know what I mean? Like,
well, he's like, I'm sorry for the drama. Well, you started the fucking drama.
Yeah, you could have just, like, went past it. You could have just, like, I don't like your shirts and just kept it to yourself and not been, like, in a public forum with 4,000 fucking people watching and you going and saying, like, some shit like that. It's just, like, you know, you open yourself up to shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know that from experience. When you do that, you're just opening yourself up to shit. You know what I mean? Like, you know, we could, like, definitely go left of center with him, but why? You know what I mean? That's why I told Tim sent me screenshots of it, and I'm just like, dude, what the fuck, man? Like, it was unprovoked. You know, it's just unprovoked. You know what I mean? Your shirt fucking sucks. Okay, cool.
Celebrity death match between the two? Like, if someone could do that claymation?
I'm going to be honest with you.
Hey, your mic's doing that shit again, Seth.
I think... I'm going to be honest with you. I think Tim puts all kinds of bones in his lips. I'm just saying. I'm being honest with you. I don't think James wants that smoke, to be quite honest with you. Tim's lanky. He's lengthy. He was in the service, so he was in the military, so he knows how not to quit. So, I mean, except for on a podcast. Well, 2 podcasts. And YouTube. Sorry. But I just, you know, like, that whole scenario is just like, it's just so fucking, it was so unnecessary, man.
Hey, your mic's fucked up. You sound like you're talking into a fucking wind tunnel.
I do not understand what is going on with that shit.
Let's see.
Cameron Kidd said, tuning in for the show, waiting for Seth to pause.
Getting closer to it's not going to help it.
No, I was reading the comment.
Oh, maybe you should put your phone on your right instead of your left, and maybe you stay away from the mic or get too close to the microphone. Something is not right. I don't understand. Like, now you're not freezing at all. That's perfect. Now your fucking audio's fucked up. I don't get it. It does not make sense.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Now you sound fucking like Howard fucking Stern. I don't get it.
I think, like, maybe even having devices plugged in next to it is causing some type of, like, backfeed.
That could be.
I can't think of what else it could be, but
I'm sorry we got off on a tangent there. We were supposed to have Michael Draper on. Michael Draper had a prior engagement.
He's on, yeah. He said he's signing on right now, so keep an eye for him.
When he comes
has
on.
Anybody thought maybe it's Seth's voice and not the microphone or the computer?
I could be.
Okay. Sultry voice over here.
I guess it's possible. Anything's possible.
It is. But yeah, I mean, who cares about 2 middle-aged men fighting? Let them fight it out. I don't know. It's up to them.
I'm gonna be honest with you, dude. That's why I fucking left all those groups. It's been a solid 2 years now, and
like, James could have said nothing, and Tim could have not responded. Those were both options for both of them. Neither one picked it, so it's on both of them.
Yeah, but at the same time, if you throw the attack.
Yeah, we're gonna act. All gonna pretend like if somebody says something to Seth, he's not gonna say nothing.
Right.
No, I'm saying, then I don't beg for sympathy and, like, can you believe this?
Okay. I agree with you there. I do agree with that.
Like, you can handle it like a man. Like, message him like, hey, I'm gonna stab you in the neck. Like, dude, I'm totally fine with that.
Stab you in the neck with a knife.
No, I don't care. Like, if you want to say that privately, like, hey, you keep talking, there's gonna be problems.
There's gonna be a problem.
But, like, said this, and like that's the part where I'm like, so James sucks.
Who's moving their microphone around?
It's Jacob.
Stop it.
See, Jacob definitely got caught because he's smirking. I knew it was you, Jacob.
Fucking
I saw your
3-year-old.
You're like, I didn't do it.
Fuck, he's something else, man.
I had to move it to play with my Legos.
His phone, he had to move it so he could text James and be like, hey,
James,
man,
they're talking about us backflip on Wiener Guys again.
I'm about to bring up your penis. Sign on.
Nah, I'm just teasing, dude.
I think it's weird that James is going to sit in on the podcast a bunch and then fucking Jacob never messaged him about it because he doesn't like running on here.
Exactly what happened.
Jacob's like, fuck you, I'm never messaging that dude to be out here. This is my shit.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I have no idea what you mean.
What could you possibly be talking about?
I totally do not miss any of that shit. Like I of course post to the Squeegee Life page itself. I don't even interact in the podcast group, which I feel bad about. You know what I mean? But I just, it always leads to bullshit. You know what I mean? Like, the guys that, like the Patreon guys, they know how to get a hold of me. Like most of them have my phone number. You know what I mean? They know how to get in contact with me. So if they want to speak to me, they can. You know what I mean? Or they come here and they watch. But like getting in that Facebook community, it's toxic, man. It's always bullshit.
Well, it's fucking winter coming. Well, it was winter coming in.
Yeah,
the spring,
there's a lot.
So
there's a lot to do with it.
Sitting around with their thumbs up their
sure,
ass.
man. But like, to be honest, why are we all on pro window cleaning, or why are you guys all on pro window cleaning? You're not learning anything from that. You don't go, oh wow, that's you go to talk shit. Yeah. That's why we're on there.
Essentially,
talk some shit. Watch a stupid post and be like, look at this idiot.
Yeah,
that's what we do. Yeah,
it's just fun. It's just a place for Eddie to correct people's grammar.
Yeah. Tell him to make a sandwich.
Yeah,
which is kind of funny, but.
Yeah, I try to refrain from. I monitor a couple of accounts on window cleaning accounts that has to do with that shit, and it's really hard for me not to engage with stupidity. You know what I mean? Like guys are like, I bought a dozen Black Diamond squeegee rubbers, and every one of them needs a mark. Like, listen, guys.
I mean,
just like this fucking shit's fucking junk. Just send the dude a message and be like, hey man, I've got a defective product. Casper will send you a dozen rubbers and not blink a fucking eye. Or give you your money back. You know what I'm saying? Like Casper's super cool about shit like that. I just don't understand people like they feel like I need to get on the internet and bash this thing. Unless it's Perry Tate. Then you need to fucking shit down that dude's neck at all times possible. Now he's got this new scam where he's like fucking... Did you see his new fucking scam?
No, what is it this time?
It's this fucking... I'll look it up here. Like, it's been brought to my attention.
Is it better than a flashlight?
Dude, it's some kind of like fucking program, like influencer program where like you talk about reach it shit and like he'll give you some money.
Yeah, that's a fucking lie.
And I mean, we all know how that goes. You know, I mean, you can't even get the guy to fucking you can't even like develop a product and like have him manufacture it and get fucking paid for it. The guy's a fucking total dirtbag.
Everybody that worked for him.
He's paired up with some fucking goofy fucking kid too. Like, and from what I understand, the kid has been like cleaning windows for like 3 months, and he like literally not even a year. This kid's been fucking cleaning windows. It's called Service Sigma. This is just fucking the stupidest shit I've ever seen in my life. Our influencers, meet our what a bunch of fucking goofs. Ben Bergloff, like I could just tell that kid, I don't know.
Well, he's been sold a, he might be a nice.
I think that's him. Harrison Tate, of course. What I find is funny is Harrison Tate in this fucking picture. He's got cleaning magic markered on his fucking knuckles. The kid's never done a hard day's work in his entire fucking life. He didn't even know how to screw shelves into a fucking wall. Let's be honest. Like, come on, dude. Epic Exterior Services. Yeah. Ben Bergloff, that's his name. I think the kid's been I think he's not even been clean in a year, but he's like some kind of big timer or some shit. I just find it fucking hilarious.
I don't mind kids like that.
What a turd. What a turd.
You know what I mean?
Perry Tate's a fucking turd, man.
Yeah.
He preys on people that don't know any better.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he got me for a little while, and I've been doing fit for a while. I was like, yeah, maybe his equipment is good. And then I used it. And I was like, well, it actually sucks.
Well, that's cool that we rung the fucking... Somebody must have said Beetlejuice fucking 3 times because there's Zen window cleaning in the fucking chat.
Nah, man. Jacob texted him like, hey...
Hey, they're talking about you, bro.
I'm kidding, dude. I'm literally just fucking with you. I'm not saying that.
I just, listen, man. I just... Like, calling people a fucking meth head and shit like that. Like, come on, man. Like,
yeah, I mean, that's a little much, yeah.
I just, you could have just scrolled right past that shit and just not even, I mean, because to be perfectly honest with you, I could honestly care less. But you could have just scrolled right past it. You know what I mean? If you don't like his shirt or whatever, then don't. You know what I mean? Don't say anything.
Don't buy one.
Don't fucking buy one. Yeah, right. Dude. Like, like guys are like, oh man, you're fucking this and you're fucking that shirt and this, that. I'm like, then don't buy one. I don't give a fuck. Fucking silencers are overpriced, then don't buy one. I don't give a fuck. Fucking go fuck your mother, dude. I don't care, dude. I don't care. The only dudes that complain about how much a silencer are too fucking busted and broke to have one. They want one and just can't part with the $300. Right. I'm just keeping it real. And another thing, listen, it's not for everybody. Do you have to have one to clean windows? No, nope. You don't. No, you don't. Are you mad because I have one? Because it seems like you're mad because I have one. That's what I tell people all the time. Are you mad that I have one and you don't? I don't understand. Well, if I wanted one, I'd get one. Then, okay, then what do you...
Then shut the fuck up.
We just wouldn't eat for a week, but we'll get one.
Yeah, so beware of Sigma 6, Service 6 Sigma, some fucking bullshit Perry Tate's got fucking going on here. This guy's a fucking twat nugget.
Yeah. Well,
Perry Tate, we just found you and CEO. CEO of what?
I'm going to go in there and ask him if he's ever had ligma. He should be like, ligma. I'm going to say ligma balls.
Just like, what? Like, honestly, man, fucking Perry Tate's a fucking total turd bag.
That dude is a fucking skid mark on the underwear of progress.
Yeah, I find this shit funny. I find Perry Tate funny. It all begins with an idea. It all begins with someone else's idea. That's one of his taglines.
Idea, not idea. He says idea.
Yeah. Then he designs. You don't design shit. Then we plan.
He designs how he's.
Then we plan execution. Then we build our team. Yeah, dude, listen. Listen, man. Stop it. Perry Tate, you gotta stop eventually.
Stop.
Eventually, you gotta stop.
I mean, I don't feel like that's a big U.S. market. He's selling other ding-dongs.
What's that?
I feel like he has a big U.S. market at all. I feel like if he's selling it,
stop leaning in towards your microphone.
UK guys,
you're blowing it out. That's what it is. You're blowing it out.
Yeah, move your mic away.
Move your microphone away from. Speaking of blowing it out. Now talk, Seth. Now say what you were saying.
Hello. No, I'm saying I don't feel like he has a big U.S. market.
No, he's burned that up.
Market is like,
well, he burnt that up.
UK
There's still a few
his own
morons that follow him here.
Nobody wrecked it but himself.
And freaking Bob.
He didn't really wreck it himself. We fucked it up for him. We fucked it up a little bit for him. Yeah. The dude, he shouldn't have did what he did. He first of all, he burnt us. That's the first thing he fucked up. He fucked up by burning us. He did us dirty. And then he fucking did Richie dirty. And then it was just all bets are off. Then we're just gonna now we have to shit on you.
Yeah.
They talk shit about the silencer because they wanna, like, that fucking Van Orton turd burglar dude fucking, he's like, oh well, hey, it's a bad design, it leaks.
That's the same guy that shits the black diamond rubber.
I mean, I don't give a fuck what that dude thinks, but my thing is this. He's like, well, I want to be able to, fill it, I want to have all the water so I have to keep walking back to my bucket 9,000 times and doody-doody-doody-doody-doo. And, like, I can, like, get my mop nice and fucking wet, give it a wring out, and do an entire fucking restaurant inside and then partially outside, but before having to go back to my bucket. I mean, if you want to be, if you want to have a shitty, dirty mop all day, that's your fucking issue, not mine, Or you can carry around a squirt bottle and squirt the window.
Squirting the window is pretty gay. It's a little gay.
I'm surprised someone hasn't suggested that Richie make one that has a kickstand.
Oh, yeah. That's coming.
Oh. What can you do with a kickstand?
I think this is him. Okay, this is him. I think we're going to get Mr. Draper in here. We'll see. If we start to lag and freeze up a little bit, guys, just give us a second. Hopefully, this is the only thing. Hopefully, we don't have to adjust his settings and all that stuff while on the podcast. That would suck.
There he is.
What's up, guys?
Hey, how you doing? He's immediately in the show, and...
Look at him all clean cut. You look good, Mike.
I do?
Yeah. You look like a champ.
Who are you, Thomas? Who are you, fucking Albert Einstein, Thomas Edison, or some shit with them glasses?
He is a smart guy. I got a lot of respect.
Man, you're already smart. You didn't have to wear the glasses to make yourself look even smarter.
The older I get, I gotta use props.
Right, I gotta use props. Yeah. I gotta put on some this and that's. How you doing, Mike?
Hey, I'm doing good, guys. How about yourself?
Doing amazing.
Wonderful.
Good.
Yeah. Well, welcome to March Madness, and you will be the only safety company on this year, and I'm glad you came because we had some Cowboys on. We got some good stories, and some we're going to share with you because you never know what can happen out there. So welcome.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. Glad to be glad to make the list.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, you were a great guest last year, and I think it's a great addition to the podcast because we get to see both sides of the coin from a safety as well as from the Cowboys that are out there doing the work. And one thing I always like to say, like I said last time, when I did high-rise work back in the 90s, there wasn't, I'm sure you were around, but there wasn't what you're doing and others proper training. So you almost had to know somebody to learn how to do it. And yet, depending on who taught you and what they did was dictated how you did things. And now I think part of the problem is there are several companies similar to yours that are doing phenomenal work, but there's also YouTube and the internet is so powerful that I think that's not a good thing personally. There's probably, I haven't looked, but I would assume there's probably a good bit of misinformation out there.
Yeah, no doubt. First, I always like to start off by saying, when I was trained high rise, like many, I was trained in a sit harness with no shoulder straps.
Right.
We tied off on our ventral attachment. There was no shoulder straps, and I used a Jumar as a backup.
Right.
And we had this wild thing called a Sidewinder that was kind of invented in Florida as our descent device. And so, no helmet, no nothing. That's the way we rolled.
Right.
And so, the thing about the high-rise industry is if you've been around the whole game and I haven't been around since the very beginning, but you know, the industry was very divided at one point in time. It was kind of the East Coast guys and the West Coast guys. And the East Coast, pretty much way back when in the 80s and stuff, they used cylinders. They used Squeegee cylinders, and the West Coast used racks.
Right.
And then, you know, they all converged on Texas, Lubbock, Texas one year, and that was the very first IWCA convention. And they started talking, and they didn't even know each other existed, right? And there was these two different forms of doing things. But in the early days on that Squeegee, it was a one rope system.
Right.
One rope through it. There was no safety line, and that's just what they did.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Mike. Wasn't it also designed to run 2 ropes through it?
Okay, so that's where it progressed to, because they got to thinking. They're like, well, wait a minute. I'm only on one rope, and so if that one rope goes, that's not good for me. So yeah, then they started wrapping 2 ropes through the genie. They thought, well, that would be better. But what they were finding out is there were times where the genie itself, or the cylinder itself, was cutting the ropes. So it didn't matter if there were 2 ropes in it. So then they decide, okay, well, let's progress a little further. That other line, that secondary line, needs to be outside of the descent device. And so I say that to say this, that the industry has always been progressing. It's always been evolving. Mm-hmm. And really, right now, we're at a point where we're evolving again, because technology, different tools. There weren't these. I didn't even hear about some of the tools we use now back when we started. You know,
right?
But and then just things have happened, and so most of the stuff that we're saying, there's been. I can point to accidents that say this is why we're doing this, because that's what's happening. So we're definitely in an evolution piece right now. And we're starting to see there's kind of the new school versus the old school.
Right.
And, you know, the new school is going to win because the regulations are starting to line up behind it. But, hey, you know, we're all a work in progress, and we got to just make the changes. It's not easy, especially if you've done something one way for a long time. That's a hard thing to break. But,
yeah,
you know,
we're out here championing it, trying to get it done.
You're talking before about when you first started talking there about, you know, at the beginning, a lot of people were just using one rope. And we had a guest on, what was our first guest of the month, Mark?
It was Chris Ayers.
Chris Ayers.
Yep.
Chris Ayers. You got to hear this, Mike.
Do you know the story?
I don't know if I know the story. I don't know what you're going to tell.
Well, you can stop TJ if he.
No, Mark. I'd rather you tell it.
You know. Okay, so Chris was our first guest the first week of March, and I always ask the guests, any close calls, any issues, you know. I mean, because me personally, I've never had, nor any of my employees, but, you know, stuff happens. Well, he was doing this, I believe it was 23-story building, was condominium, and they had these metal penetrations, these pipes that came out of the brickwork, let's say, okay, and they protruded out maybe 2 to 3 inches, and nobody knew really what they were. And this cleaning was moved to a cold month, let's just say January, okay? And he rigs up, and he starts dropping down. He's around 20 stories up, and his main line completely snaps, okay? Just literally, the chair fell out from under him. He was hanging from the harness. The bucket didn't hit the ground because it got tangled up in his legs and whatnot. And he luckily had a coworker within 8 to 10 feet from him. And he said, "What just happened?" He's like, "I don't know." He goes, "Hang loose." And they swung over, and he grabbed the other guy's safety, transferred over to it. As soon as he transferred it, he said within 10 seconds, the second line went. Okay, only to find out that those penetrations were small chimneys for fireplaces.
And his rope burnt.
And who would think his rope burnt through? Both of them. Even the one without any pressure on it, okay?
Yeah.
And if he didn't have a coworker next to him, there's no way he would have made it to the ground. You know, because his first thing was,
he would have made it to the ground.
He wouldn't have time.
He would have made it to the ground.
Yeah.
I can assure you, he would have made it to the ground.
But the point is that who would ever think?
In a million years that my rope would burn 300 feet up in the air. Oh, my rope's burning, you know?
Right.
He was like, I was just cruising along, cleaning windows. He goes, and then, you know, I'm just sitting there in my chair, and then all of a sudden I just, boom, and I drop like 3 feet. I'm like, what the hell?
Well, see, here's the thing.
Unbelievable.
I don't know how you feel about this, Mike, but whoever did the roof survey, because I do a roof survey on every job that we do, okay, and my guys were very good, and they, you know, we take pictures of obstructions, issues, how we're going to do certain things, especially the first time around, okay? I had an opportunity at a 23-story that had a pool deck on the roof, and the tiebacks were beautiful. They lined them up perfectly. You open the cubby, there was a certified tieback.
What color tile was in the pool?
Probably terracotta color, knowing Florida. And so I said, when I did my survey, I said, while we're on this exposure, because not all of the drops were off of the pool deck, maybe half of them, I said the pool's going to be locked and there's not going to be any tenants up here, because literally your tiebacks are right there, right next to the lawn chairs. You know what I'm saying? And they're like, no, we can't do that. I go, then we're not a good fit for this job, because I don't trust anybody when it comes to that. You know, I mean,
course,
even when we did commercial buildings, and commercial buildings, rooftops is the best real estate, because they sell cell phone towers, repeaters, and whatnot on that roof. It's a tenant that pays a lot of money that never occupies space except for the roof. And we used to tell the building, when we're on the roof cleaning your windows, nobody goes up there without one of our representatives there, or they don't get to go on the roof at all.
I'm just curious. I mean, I don't know if you're, I mean, and I could be wrong about what you're getting at, but I mean, I guess what I'm picking up is it's maybe Chris's bosses probably should have done a little more due diligence, but I mean, really, when it comes right down to it, I mean, I do understand where you're coming from, but safety starts with you. You know what I mean?
Does. You make the ultimate decision.
Chris makes the ultimate decision there. You know, when you're going over the edge, or you're climbing up a ladder, or you're getting in the basket of a lift, you know, your boss can only do so much for you. If you're the guy doing the work, you have to be safe.
I agree 100%.
You have to take that into your own hands.
The main point is that I'm saying, and I wanted Mike to make a mental note of this during his training, that there's, like, I had never in a million years, of something like that. And point being is that he was a very fortunate young man to have someone.
We said, I mean, how long did, I think we all reacted to that for about 10, 15 minutes straight.
Yeah,
it gave me goosebumps. It gave me goosebumps when he told the story. When he said he switched over to his partner's safety line, and then the other rope snapped almost 5 seconds afterwards, I almost shit my pants. Yeah. I couldn't imagine. Somebody was looking out for him, clearly. I mean, there must have been a higher power there involved. You know what I mean? Because that's insane.
Me personally, now, I asked him, they're still cleaning that building. But he said it's in the months that it's not hot, or not cold, I'm sorry. And I said, I would have, if they're gas fireplaces, gas assist, I would say the gas has to be shut off before my guys climb over that roof. I don't trust some woman or man 80 years old not to start their fireplace. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I can attest to that, because my grandfather was cold in August.
Right.
If you turned the fan on in August, he would yell at you, "Goddamn, turn that fan off! It's cold as shit!" I'm like, it's 90 degrees, dude!
After all that, to speak to Chris and the fact that he went back, and he's done that building again.
Several times since.
Yes. That guy has, because if he didn't go back on a rope, in my opinion, within 24 hours, he probably wouldn't do it again.
He's got 2-inch diameter ball bearings in his underwear. That's all I got to say.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Well, it's the case, guys. It's the case all the time. I mean, really, ascending and descending a rope or whatever is to me is the easiest part of the job. Everything that you're using so far as tools and the equipment and all that is over-engineered. It's way overrated for what we need it to do. It's not that piece that causes problems ever. You don't see accident statistics where his descender blew up in the air.
Yeah, equipment failure. Yeah,
it's always has something to do with the building. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I can't agree with you anymore. I mean, the site assessment has to be done. And in Chris's case, I mean, I do feel like the employee bears the responsibility of following the plan, right? And the plan should be in place. Like Mark, you're saying, I go out, I look, I plan it all out. It's all there. And then, so you know what the safest route is, and then your employees have to follow that plan. Right. If the employee starts, going rogue on you, well, I'm going to do it this way, I'm going to do it this way. Now you run into problems again, right?
Right.
So, but both people bear responsibility. But site safety is, I mean, that's what I talk about all the time. The actual process itself, that's nothing. It's kind of like, using a water-fed pole. That piece of it can be figured out fairly quickly. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to safety, it's what are the other things that you can't see, or the things that could possibly come on you in the environment that you're just not planning for. And when there's all kinds in the air, when you're in the air, you're at the mercy of any of those obstacles that pop up. Like these were steam pipes, but it could be, I've got a guy in North Carolina that swears to this day that he's alive because he's wearing his helmet because a falcon hit him in the head.
Really?
Who plans for that?
Yeah.
Who plans and says, what? I wonder what the birds of prey are today. I wonder, but he swears he wasn't wearing his helmet.
Yeah.
He got raked, the talons hit the helmet. He fought the bird off. But if he wasn't wearing his helmet that day, he's pretty sure that the falcon would have raked his head, and he was about 300 feet in the air in Raleigh. And he couldn't have probably got down without bleeding out.
Now, I could tell you honestly, Mike, I have yet to see a high-rise window cleaner in South Florida wearing a helmet.
No.
I mean, maybe we're cowboys here. Okay, now,
I'm leaning towards you guys are cowboys. I'm in Florida. I'm leaning towards that. Just from what I know of you, Mark, and you are probably one of the safer dudes. I know you're still a cowboy.
You're right. But I will say this. When I was doing high work and then my employees were doing high work, they always worked together side by side. Because I understand, something can hit you if you're on a, like we did David Williams Hotel and pieces of stucco were falling off the building, literally climbing over balconies and stuff. And it was built like in the 30s. And it was a piece of crap. We were like, this building is falling apart. And they're going to try to hold us responsible for all this bad stucco that's just from position.
In that particular portion of this trade, I mean, is it good to essentially have a good partner with you, like one 100%. that's not like Mr. I could get done faster than you type of guy. You know what I mean?
Mike can attest to that. Absolutely. Yeah. My guys didn't even need to talk.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's not a one-person job ever. I mean, there needs to be two people on the site. And I'll just address the helmets. I mean, I've been championing helmets now for 4 years.
Yeah.
Being laughed at a lot. That's okay. First and foremost, we now have OSHA on document saying that they're supporting helmet use at height and will cite for it. So we have the authority behind us at this point. It's been a long time coming. But one of the misrepresentations of the helmet use is I'm not out here saying that you need to wear a helmet because of something may fall to the sky and hit you in the head. True, there's been some cases where pieces of the building or whatever have fallen. I'm not even telling you we need to wear a helmet because a falcon will hit you in the head.
Right.
Although we've got cases of the fact that that's happened.
Right.
The reason for wearing a helmet, and even the reason that the construction industry is moving to it and everything else, it's impact upon a fall. And a lot of high-rise guys will say, well, if I fall out of the sky 300 feet, what's a helmet going to do? I'm not worried about that. We're hoping that you don't hit the ground. But in Chris's case, where he told you about his main line severing, if that happens on the building, you are going to crash the building.
Yeah.
And when you crash the building, if your head is not protected, you could go unconscious. You could take a head hit.
And then that rescue that he did there would have never have happened because he'd have been unconscious.
Would have never have happened.
Yeah.
Right.
So
I see the point.
I see the point in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not. It's I hear these guys all the time. Oh, what's going to hit me in the head from that? I'm 300 feet in the air. No, we're not worried about something hitting you in the head from above. We're worried about if the main line ever breaks. And guys, we had 5 accidents in our industry last year. And I say this all the time in the class. Well, if a main line breaks, guess what? in 3 of those cases, guess what happened? Main line broke.
Yeah.
For whatever reason.
Right.
But they broke. And so they went to that secondary line. And when you do, you're going to hit, and it doesn't take much.
Yeah. Well, we had a guy here on a 27-story that all glass building, and the wind was picking up, and 2 of the more experienced guys said, we're going to stop here and go down. And the third guy, who was on a corner, which I would never recommend an inexperienced guy on a corner, because people don't realize, you ever hold a water-fed pole up in 30-mile-an-hour winds? It like weighs 4,000 pounds. Imagine if you're halfway down a 25, 30-story building, the wind picks up on a corner. Well, this guy, it pulled him away from the building about 15 feet and blew him around the corner of the other side of the building, and in the middle of that, it spun him backwards, and so he couldn't even put his hands out or anything, or his legs. Not that would have helped too much, but it put him through a 4x8 sheet plate glass window into an attorney's office, and he took like 60 stitches to the back.
Wow.
Now, he didn't have a helmet on, so I'm sure there was lacerations to his head as well. So it does make sense. And, like I said, when I was doing it, the helmets we were always afraid, you got a cowboy that's, on the 12th floor and you're on the 25th floor. If he drops his squeegee, again, we weren't using lanyards at the time. Yeah. You don't want a squeegee in the head from that height,
True.
So, yeah, it does. But, it does make sense.
We're supposed to be tethered at this point, so we're tethering our tools. So the chances of, but there's been cases. But again, we're teaching primary point of rescue as a self-rescue. So really, something's got to really catastrophically go wrong before we have to engage in a lowering system or a pick rescue or anything like that, because we're able to self-rescue. But some things have to happen in order for a self-rescue to take place, and one of them is consciousness.
Right.
And so that's why we advocate the helmets. And so I tell you, some pieces in Florida, there are some companies down there that are wearing them. You're starting to see a difference in social media, and it's really rewarding on my part, because you do get laughed at and you get pushed back. Oh, he's a stupid safety guy. Yeah. I've heard it all. That's fine. But when you start to see the change in trend, you start to see the evolution taking place on social media and whatever, you start to see different pictures.
Yeah, eventually it's going to be accepted, and it's not going to be teased anymore.
And we're about half and half right now, I think.
If you want to be cool, just go have your helmet airbrushed and make it look cool. You know what I mean? Get you a cool looking helmet. Like, fuck, I don't understand. My Uncle Larry was almost fatally injured in a motorcycle accident. A drunk pulled out in front of him, and he ran into the side of this Dodge Ram pickup truck, and he had pins sticking out of his pelvis and out of his ankles, and he was, his balls were swollen the size of his head, and he was really fucked up really bad, to the point where he was bedridden for a year. I mean, in black and blue. So we all chipped in and got him a helmet that said Ram Tough airbrushed on the front of it. You know what I mean? Like, because he was literally Ram Tough. You know what I mean? And he was wearing that helmet the next time he got hit on his motorcycle. And he was in a lot better shape. You know what I mean? Like, and he was probably one of the toughest dudes I know. But to sit in that emergency room and listen to that, one of the dudes that the reason why I have tattoos, the reason why I talk the way that I do is because of that dude. We idolized him. All of us did. We idolized my Uncle Larry. But to hear him in the emergency room scream for his mom when they were scrubbing the gravel out of his skin, you know what I mean? Like, you start to think about, well, maybe it's okay to be safe sometimes. You know what I mean? Maybe it's all right. You know what I mean? It's not that bad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there's tough and then there's fucking stupid. You know what I mean? Or there's a fine line there, between tough and stupid. And if you're doing something that's exponentially more dangerous than most other professions, and you're like, oh, well, I'm not wearing a helmet because I'm a fucking cool guy. You're already cool, dude.
Yeah.
You're already cool.
Is what most people wouldn't. Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? You're the guy hanging off the side of the building cleaning windows. You're already cool, dude. Just be cool and safe. Right. It's fine. You'll be all right, dude. We're not going to look at you any differently.
Yeah, we do a little demonstration, and I'm going to get a concussion proving my point, because whenever I'm doing the training classes, I will basically extend myself out away from the wall about 3 or 4 foot, and then I'll go into the wall full impact and hit my head. And I'll always look back and say, is it reasonable to assume that if your main line went, you would hit the wall that hard?
Right.
And they're like, oh yeah. And I'm like, that's all the reason we're wearing our helmet for, right?
Right. That wouldn't take much to split your head.
Yeah. And please don't make me do it again during this class, because now I've got a headache trying to prove the point. You know?
Right. Yeah.
So Mike, I have a couple questions, and I want you to get into more of your company eventually, but a couple questions I want to ask you that I'm...
Mark Klodinsky said David Carradine lost consciousness on his single rope setup and wasn't wearing a helmet.
That's bad. That is bad.
I love you, Mark.
Mike, I ask this because I've seen it on social media, like an influx of it. Rooftop counterweighted rollers. Is it legal to go horizontally on the building, or is it state by state, or is there a height restriction when you can move with adequate tie back?
All the above.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're in the state of Minnesota, you're not going to go horizontal with a rig. They've had several accidents there. And so funny that the accident generally wasn't with them rolling. The accident was they didn't weight the thing right and it dumped.
Right.
But in Minnesota, you can't. What it's always going to default to on these things is manufacturer specs. And so I'll use the Mio rig, for instance. So it's a manufactured product, right? And if you look at the instructions in it, it says that you can roll it. It is designed to be rolled, have a guy over rolling, provided that you can keep continuous tie back.
Right.
Now, why most guys of the safety world are going to default to you can't do it is because technically on that rig, the way that you roll a guy is the main line and the safety line are both attached to the top of the rig over the building. And technically that's not the way it's supposed to be. That safety line is not supposed to be attached to the rig. It's supposed to be over the building.
Yeah.
Independent. So if you can keep constant contact on the rig, it has to be tied back. And you can figure out how to slide the safety down without disconnecting it.
Yeah.
Then you can roll a guy all you want.
The problem becomes when someone wants to move 75 feet before they go down to the next floor. I've experienced it. And we've gone through the loop, through the eye, but not hooked to it, and then back to a central tie back. And then theoretically the guy moves that tie back to keep those. The thing is, what people don't realize is when you start going on angles, everything changes. Right? So in the event that you come out, it's going to want to pull you to center.
Yeah. If a building, let's just say, had some pretty wide anchors and then maybe had a horizontal line on it as well, it's potentially that you could do some Y rigging, maybe a sliding plate rig, and keep it tied back continuously and run the safety along the HLL, possibly. Yeah. So it's not impossible, but to be totally technically correct on it and meet compliance, I'll just say it'll be difficult on most buildings. Yeah. So that's why most guys will just say you can't do it.
We have a question here in the chat, and I think we've already answered this before, but for those of us that don't know, are there any, and if there are any differences between what you offer and what Jeffrey offers? Is there a difference between those two programs?
Jeff Scott and myself?
Yes.
Yeah, I never like to get in this and this, but look, Jeff's program is a good program, and we've seen many guys come out of his program very successfully trained. I think one of the things, so far as the training is the training, right? That's
so the training is the same. It's just different people.
Yeah, I mean, we're both
different approaches with the same results.
Yeah, and we're both using, at this point, rope access techniques, really. So that part doesn't change. I think what we do different than Jeff, at least I haven't talked to Jeff in a while, but I think Jeff still owns his window cleaning company, primarily trains. We take that a little bit step further because we don't window clean anymore. We're just in the safety world. So we're involved with the anchorage. We're involved with the equipment. We're involved with the ongoing safety and follow up with that safety and all those things. So our bread and butter, what we do is we're a safety consulting company. So do we train? Yes. Do we inspect anchors? Yes. But overall, we're a safety consultant company. I think that's probably the difference.
So there you go, guys. There you go.
Yeah. So Mike, if I come to you,
he sucks and I'm great thing, or I suck and he's great thing. It's like, hey, why don't you take them both? You'll probably be better off.
Right.
So Mike, I come to you for training, get my certification and whatnot. How often, or do you recommend returning for that training because of A, things that have changed, or B, if I wanted to go from a different descender, or would you recommend someone comes to you after training and certification every 5 years, every 3 years, or it's just up to them if they feel comfortable?
Yeah, so I'm following and training, and these certificates that we're issuing are through the IWCA.
Okay.
And so there's two levels of certification through the IWCA. The first is what we call authorized. And that's really a beginner. I wouldn't say beginner, but it's more of an intermediate, right? It's a guy can tie his knots, he can rig himself, he can go over the edge, he can descend, he can get off of a rope grab and a rope grab hang, and he can perform a self-rescue. That he can go to one line and get down if he needs to. Now, that certificate through the IWCA is good for 2 years. Now, the next level is to certified. And a certified is supposed to have authorized level for 480 hours, however long that takes. So he's logging his rope hours, 480 hours, and then he can go for the certified. So so 2 years is the authorized certificate. Once you go to certified, that's a 3-year certificate. And certified, you've got some other techniques in there. You've got an ascension in there that you have to ascend up 15 feet. You've got a rope-to-rope transfer in there. You've got a partner rescue, you've got a self-rescue, you've got a couple different rigging things you've got to do up top. You've got to be able to read and understand, if not even create a JHA and a work plan, because you're supposed to be the supervisor on the job. So it's a different level of certification. That certification is 3 years. So authorized 2, certified 3.
Okay. Now, what is the difference between, because I see a lot of talk about SPRAT level 1, SPRAT level 2. Is that a different type of certification or a totally different program? Is that more geared to just caving, rappelling, rock climbing type thing, or is it specific for the window cleaning industry?
Yeah, great question. So I'm a member of SPRAT as well, and another great training.
Yeah.
They do some things similar to what we do, and then they also go a little further. So they do a lot of ascension, and they do quite a bit of horizontal movement as opposed to just straight up and down. They do some other things as well. That's what I say is, most all of those techniques that are taught in SPRAT, they came from the caving industry. There's no doubt about that. But they apply. It's just like if you can tie a figure 8. Well, you could use a figure 8 in a lot of ways. We can descend from it. We can rig with it. We can, we can tie something around our tree. We can try a tent stake. We can just do a lot of stuff because we have that skill. And so that's the same thing with SPRAT. It's always just adding things to your arsenal that you can do. Most window cleaners are descent guys, right? They're going to come down the rope. They're going to get on an elevator. They're going to go back up, and they're going to get on it and descend down again. That's their work day. That's their occupation. That's what they do. So, it's not necessarily required that a person be a SPRAT guy or, even a certified guest, but it's just, adding to your repertoire. I mean, for me, no matter what I'm doing, I want to be the best at it. I want to be.
Well, I'm kind of thinking.
I want to know what's going on.
As many tools in your toolkit as possible.
Right. The more education you have,
the better.
Obviously,
actually, Actually, I have a question, and this may be just a skosh off topic, but I was just curious. You were saying that all you do is the safety training and stuff now, like in the anchor stuff. You do. I mean, and you're a fairly busy guy then. So does in the grand scheme of things, is our industry is a small one, but it's not as small as we think, is it?
Yeah, I would say that, yeah, when we get into our anchor division, we start getting into a lot beyond the window cleaning world.
Oh, okay.
We're really into the fall protection world and rooftop safety and stuff like that. But the window cleaning industry is definitely, everybody always will see me or whatever, and oh, you're a safety consultant, so, what do? You do this and you do this and you do this. No, I'm really kind of niche. I stay right in the window cleaning, pressure washing world. That's where I stay.
Right.
We've had a lot of, requests. So why don't you get into roofing? Why don't you get into this? Why don't you get into that? It's, quite frankly, because I don't have any time. That's why.
Is there any special like safety requirements or safety steps when it comes to pressure washing at height?
Oh yeah. Yeah, similar. So the rope is the rope, right? We're going to either go up or come down it. That's the same. But we add other hazards. If you're soft washing, which a lot of guys are starting to use power ascenders and go up the building and soft wash it and they kick over to water, rinse down. Mm-hmm. Well, we've added chemicals now to the scenario, right? If we're going to use a pressure washer, a lot of times they'll cut the wand down, so now we've got a shorter wand with a deal. But now we've added a high pressure utensil to a rope that's stretched out tight, and so there's other hazards that exist there. The rope is the rope,
right? Of course.
But the hazards do increase.
Okay. I'm just curious is all. Just, that clicked in my head instantly. I'm like, well, there's chemicals now. And not only that, you could probably blow a hole through a line, like with a pressure washer. Also, I was also wondering, and this may be me just being a dumbass, but, I'm assuming that it would be better. Pressure washer, Mark, I don't know. You've been doing this quite a bit. Are the lines coming from the ground or the roof?
No, what we always did, and I'll let Mike address
the pressure washing hose.
When possible, we put the machine on the roof, a smaller portable. Uh-huh. And not every roof has water.
Right,
so
of course.
That's what's going to dictate it. But we would put the pressure washer on the roof, and let's say the building is 10 stories, so it's 100 feet. Uh-huh. You take 150 foot, and we'd run it down on a loop. We'd secure the rope, secure the hose off out of the way where you're not going to be, protect the hose with carpeting and whatnot, and run it down in a loop and back up to the chair. Uh-huh. Now, the issue is like Mike can tell you, when you pull that trigger, if you have a machine that just instantly comes on, not a soft type unloader, which we always look for those soft unloaders, but they fail personally, and that was years ago. But you're going for a ride if you're not ready for it. Your feet aren't planted, you're not suction cupped on the glass, and you can literally blow yourself 10 feet off.
I've always been curious about that. I've always been curious about how that works.
Fun. It is.
That's gotta be a very tiring day.
Well, see, now, when Mike and I were in Orlando a few years back, and we were discussing these power ascenders, which, I thought if you think about it, it's a great option for the soft wash, pressure wash industry. You're relying on equipment, let's be real, to climb the rope instead of coming from the top down. Mm-hmm. But you're also not having to climb over the wall. You start low and work your way up, or you go to the top and work down. However they're doing it. Right. And with the soft wash, you don't have that surge of 2,500, 3,000 psi, 4 gallons of coming out at you. Mm-hmm. I think the industry opens up to a whole nother bunch of people that are willing to sit in a chair and ride it up, versus climbing over that wall. That was always the challenge. Yeah. Right, Mike?
I'm going to tell you that turned that. I'm going to I hate to cut you off there, but that's what turned me off about it instantly. It's coming over the edge instantly. Yeah. If I could have went up, I probably would have kind of got used to it after a while. But going over the edge part, standing in that chair, I'm like, nah, dude.
The only hesitation
and I was only 4 stories in the air, and it scared the shit out of me.
I've had hesitations on buildings. Mike probably seen guys like this with no parapet. There are buildings that has zero parapet.
I can't imagine.
To climb over and hang on to. The ultimate parapet for me was 2 feet because I could get up on it and straddle it and get myself set and climb over the wall with everything with me. But when there's nothing there to hold on to except for your ropes, and your hands are getting pinched between the rope and the roof. We did a 43-story that I got down because you literally went to the 40th floor, climbed up a chicken ladder to an octagon, and the only thing in the middle of the octagon, Mike, and it was like 20 feet octagonal, was the only thing was a loop, a ring in the middle, okay? A big clevis. And you were like, okay, and you lower down 2 600-foot pieces of rope, and then you got to get in the chair. And you could literally just walk off the building. There's nothing there. Yeah. Mentally, it is. Yeah, and a 43-story building on top of a 10-story parking garage sways. You literally feel the building moving. It's just not.
So I'm not a fan. Two things with your original question. One is processes. So the soft wash guys that I've seen doing it with the power ascender, they start from the ground. And it's not necessarily that they don't want to come over the edge, but the process they're using is they want a chemical treat going up.
Right.
Yep.
And then they flip it over to rinse coming down.
Right.
So it just works. There's no if they didn't have it that way, then they'd have to start at the top, I guess, cleaning, but then you'd go to the ground and then how would you get the rinse done?
Right.
Well, not only that, you're more prone to streaking with chemical if you don't start from the bottom up.
Right.
Yeah. Now pressure washing. The one thing you have to be careful of by putting the pressure washer up on the roof, and we have a case of this, where they set the pressure washer up on the roof, the intake vents suck the gas fumes down the building.
Oh, wow.
They have to evacuate the building, they have to bring in the EPA, clear the building, all this stuff. So you have to be careful about, how's that going to be vented? Where's, where are the fumes? Do we have possible intake coming into the building with gas fumes,
right,
and all that. So lots of considerations.
Yeah, a lot of considerations.
Yeah.
Soft washing and power washing. Like, where do you see the problems for soft washing, and where do you see the problems for pressure washing?
Now say that again. Start again. Say that again.
All right. Safety concerns lie for soft washing as opposed to pressure washing. Like, where would your concerns be for soft washing, and where would your concerns be for pressure washing?
All right, and so I think I got it. So, and we're at height. Is that what we're?
Yeah.
Height.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, it just all comes into, for me, the process of soft washing beyond the chemical exposure and all that stuff. The soft washing, my concerns are going to be specifically if we're going to use a power ascender. What's our chemical exposure look like? Are we going to be able to control the if we're spraying bleach out of the thing, which most guys are with soft washing? We're going to take hits to the rope. Those chemicals, over a certain period of time, are going to break that down. So I want fresh ropes, probably. Not going to want to use ropes over and over and over again. And I'm just worried about the chemicals, chemical hits to both my equipment and the ropes themselves.
Well, and not only that, because I had to pay for a suit one time. We were just doing cap walls on an 18-story, and we would pump spray. We just went up there with a pump sprayer and our solution, saturated them down, and then went with the pressure washer. And a guy across the street walking on the sidewalk came banging on the management office of the building. His suit got bleach spots on it. So I can imagine how that carries at 10 stories, 15 stories, how far it's going down the street. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there's so many concerns with that.
Yeah, so overspray. So again, just site setup. And then pressure washing, similar. I mean, if we're on the ropes, we're worried about, the extra thing beyond everything else is with pressure washing is I'm dealing with a high pressure wand. It's somewhat uncontrolled. I mean, when we engage, we're going to push back, but also, are we going to lose control and whip the wand into the rope, cover it or cut it, sever it, whatever.
Right.
I mean, it's the at height is the at height, and it's just what are you doing at height that puts the added danger in there.
Well, it made sense to me that you'd start the wand off facing down and then kind of bring it up. But like in my mind, that's how I would do it. I wouldn't start off shooting at the building. I'd probably start like shooting down and then bring her up.
Bring it into it.
Yeah. That would be.
It takes a whole nother set of balance.
I can only imagine. I mean, just using a wand on the ground all day, after about an hour or so, you're like, shit,
Imagine sitting on a rope and it wants to spin you around.
Being on the ground and in the air has to elevate 10 times fold. Like the slight pushback when you start, now you're 20 stories in the air. How far out are you going to, come off the building? And then, put yourself in potential danger.
And too, TJ, just to kind of go back to your question as well, the industry's decent enough to support, guys doing this, and we don't only. I mean, it's the sexy that we do is the at height stuff, right? That's why you get everybody's attention, but we do a lot of stuff that's not at height. I mean, I'm an aerial lift trainer. We do aerial lift training. We do, we do water fed training. We do site safety stuff. We do a lot of different trainings.
So it's not just limited to the high rise stuff. You're kind of covering all the bases as far as this industry is concerned. Like if you're using a water fed pole, look out for these things. That makes sense. Yeah. Actually, someone has another question in here. They're asking about how easy is it to install a rooftop tie-off if there's not one, or do you just turn the job down? Now, that's not something that you could just do as a window cleaner, right? That needs to be something that, like somebody's certified to do, right? You got to have like structural engineering drawings to have like this will hold this much weight, and then we got to put this anchor here. That's probably a big to do, isn't it?
It's a process, and I mean, in its just looking at it, it's not all that difficult. I mean, it's an anchor that's going to get attached to something. It's either going to be welded or bolted or epoxied into the concrete, whatever. But there's multiple layers to that, and the layers are that first of all you're going to cut a hole in the roof, and we do this work, but we don't ever do the cutting of the hole. The roofer wants to do that because he's got a warranty on that roof,
right?
And so they're going to want to do that. So they cut their flaps. Flap gets opened up, and then you're trying to determine how are we going to? When we cut that flap open, what are we looking at? Are we looking at a concrete deck? Are we looking at concrete and a metal? Are we looking at straight beams? And then, you can anchor it to pretty much anything, but you have to have somebody intelligent enough, and that's usually an engineer, that's going to say, hey, this is how I want this installed. And then you're going to install it, and then you're going to load test it to make sure that the install happened the way it's supposed to. So, I don't think most window cleaners are going to be involved in this.
Some of them try.
I actually have, another thing that leads into that is, I mean, what are the standards on that? Like, as far as a building owner goes, like, is the industry and the profession itself strong enough, and the legalities of things, like is it now like you are required to have roof anchors to have your building cleaned, or is that not a thing yet?
No, it's getting there, and getting there fast. Okay. I mean, we're still not where we should be nationwide, but Florida, for instance, it is the wild west down there still, but it's getting better. But the federal mandate is this. The federal law says if you're going to have somebody jump over the side of that building, there's supposed to be anchors up there that are identified and certified, and that's on the building owner. And the further piece of that is that a employer is not supposed to allow anybody to go over that building unless they have received that paperwork from the building owner.
Okay. Right. We've got
it's a kind of a dual.
Yeah.
What's that?
We call them maps, because when they really started pushing that 5-7 years ago in Florida, and buildings that had existing anchors had to load test them, and then they physically gave us what looked like a blueprint of each one is now numbered. Each one, the deflection is measured. Some of them that failed, they red tag them. Like I looked at a.
So what are the? I mean, and not, again, sorry to cut you off, but there's just a lot of good questions I want to ask here. How often are you seeing newly installed and old anchors fail? Is that something that you see quite often, or is it like very rare? Like when there's stress test that they fail. How often is that?
And we see failure. So the rules are this. The way the standard reads is, the anchor can deflect in
that was my next question, Jason.
It can deflect in the test,
Uh-huh.
but it needs to return to normal,
Okay.
right? So if you're in the test and you pull them, say you pull them together, and again, the engineer decides how that test is going to take place, right?
Uh-huh.
So he's going to say, I want a lateral load at 2,500 pounds, or I want a straight out pull from this, or whatever. The engineer dictates all that.
Right.
But he says you want a lateral load on, you pull the two together like this, they'll probably give a little bit. Metal's meant to give.
But it needs to react back.
It needs to react back. If it stays bent, then that's a fail.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a fail.
Okay, now my next question is how often are these anchors certified?
So they're certified or load tested in 10-year intervals.
Okay.
Most of the time. Now,
do you agree with that?
Yeah. As long as that's backed up by an annual, which is the way it reads, is you do a load test year 1, years 2 through 9, there's annuals taking place. The only thing that would change that a little bit, and it's a bit controversial, but some engineers are now saying if it's an epoxy set anchor where they drill the 4 holes in the concrete and epoxy it, they want to see those load tested at least sporadically in a 5-year period.
Yeah, because when you said epoxy, I was like, what? Whoa,
they're like
dude.
wedge anchors and they epoxy them in.
But still, I don't give a shit. Hey, Mark, it's still super glue, brother. It's still super glue. I don't care.
If you load test, put 5,000 pound load on an epoxied anchor, and it doesn't deflect much, you don't really know. Mike, correct me if I'm wrong. If you're fracturing or ruining that, epoxy doesn't self-heal. Okay, so now you've put a stronger load than it's ever going to see, even with an impact.
Could you have weakened? Could you have stressed that bond to a point of failure and not know? Yeah.
So and that's generally the general thought on that is. Most engineers are not going to. So you have what's called a working load, and then an ultimate load or an ultimate dynamic load, right? And so what the standard says is that it must be able to support 5,000 pounds, and that's in a dynamic load.
Okay.
So what you'll see, because you say, well, 5,000 pounds, well, why are you testing the 2,500? Well, 25. If you went to 5,000, that would be your destructive test that you're talking about, right? That would be you would be weakening it, pulling it possibly out of there.
Yeah, you're making it worse.
What most engineers will say is you're going to go 2 times working load, and so working load, you can get lost in the numbers here, but for let's just say a suspended scaffolding, for instance, suspended scaffolding's motor has the potential of downward pull if something was to snag or something like that on it of about 1,250 pounds. Okay, so that's the maximum working load that we'll go off of. So 1,250, but the anchor is supposed to have a 5,000 pound dynamic load. Most engineers are going to say, let's load that 2 to 1 off the maximum working load. So 1,250 times 2 is 2,500. Now, a 2,500 pound load, if you have an ultimate or dynamic load of 5,000, should not damage the anchor.
Yes.
All right.
That makes sense.
Yes.
Okay. So, and that's why you're testing there, saying, look, it held 2 to 1, and we think that's where an engineer comes in. An engineer's going to say, I think that it held at 2,500 pounds, 2 times working load, and I think it would take a dynamic load 5,000 pounds for 3 seconds in an actual dynamic fall.
Right. Okay. Now, I only speak in the past because it's been a minute since we were doing this, but we've shown up at buildings and they're like, hey, come back next month because we're getting a roof membrane replacement. Okay. Do they mandate? Because on one job we went up a month later when the roof was done and half of the bolts for the anchor points were cross-threaded. 2 or 3 anchors were gone, like just gone. They flashed over them. And I'm like, so I would assume if someone's going to remove an anchor to flash around it with a roof membrane, that anchor needs to be recertified after a roof goes on. Correct, Mike?
That is correct. And the old I-14, the ANSI standard I-14 called for that. Said anytime there was a re-roof,
Yeah.
And anchors needed to be retested.
I actually
during the
have
process.
a very technical question for you. How many stink pipes is it safe to wrap your rope around to go?
Yeah.
How many? How many?
3 if you grab them all.
All right.
Yeah. Or you
I've
know what
seen
they like to
some
tie
shit.
to is
I'm
those,
just good lord, dude.
Aluminum racks that hold AC units. We're just gonna hook 6 of them together. I've seen it. And I'm like, no, that's not going to happen. Yeah.
I told you guys that story of that dude that used to do that building for us downtown where I live. And the shit he did, I'm just like, dude, what are you doing? I would never come off the roof. I would wait until he got all the way to the ground, and then I would go down. I would meet him halfway. I would never get off the roof because I was paranoid. I was like, this guy is fucking nuts, man. The shit that he did, I was just like, dude, what are you doing? I was like, it's not worth it. Oh, it's fine. I'm like, all right, dude. Okay.
Yeah. It's funny.
I'm going to stay up here, dude.
That's why companies like Mike's are so important and crucial to this industry. And I see a lot of people on social media that are like, I just got this opportunity to clean this 20-story building, but I'm a residential window cleaner.
Oh, God.
Any advice? What should I buy? Listen. Go buy safety training.
Go buy a fucking brain. That's the first thing.
Right.
Like I've been cleaning Nancy's house for 20 years, and her husband works at the Fifth Third Bank building downtown Toledo. It's 50 stories. He wants to know if I can clean it. What should I charge?
Yeah. How much per window? Yeah. I mean,
how big a ladder do you think I'll need? You fucking dolt.
So let me ask you this, Mike. In your training, I don't know if you guys have a training facility or you go to a physical building. Have you ever, or how many times have you experienced someone that's rah, sit through the class, and then now it's time to, put the salami on the bread here. I'm not doing this.
Yeah, we've had a few. So, I mean, a lot of who we train already has some sort of RDS experience, right? And we're just tweaking them into new methods. But we do start zero. Some folks that have never done it. I think in 5 years of training of this at this point, I think about 3.
Yeah,
I would be 4. I would be 4.
Like, I don't think I'm cut out for this. I'm like,
I would be 4.
Yeah. No.
I would be 4.
I got to tell you a fun story, Mike. About 3 years ago, I helped my father-in-law fulfill his bucket list, and I thought it was he wasn't going to do it, but he's like, hey, you want to help me out with this? I got to fulfill this on my bucket list. What is it? We're going to go skydiving. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, yeah, this is never going to happen. Well, the next year around Christmas time, guess what my Christmas present was? Skydiving, right? So I'm
when you sent me that text message, I was like, this guy is out in his fucking tree.
Yeah. So the funny thing, Mike, is that, so you get in, you sit through the class, the whole 9 yards. I'm wearing one of my window cleaning T-shirts, and I get on the plane, and I'm like, the guy's like, we're at 12,000 feet, and the door opens, and these guys that were training literally are crouched down in the corner of the aircraft, like huddling together because there were so many of them, and they literally run full speed and dive out of the plane. And I'm sitting there strapped to this other guy, and I'm like, holy shit. And he's like, we got another 5,000 feet to drop. You guys hang tight back there. And I'm like, there is nothing right about what this is. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. So now I got to say, it was the biggest rush, and I highly recommend it. Okay. And it was amazing. But when I got down, when you get down, most people want to go immediately again, right? I mean, because it's like the biggest rush. Well, then you think about it.
You're like you being strapped up to another man, nut to butt.
Yeah, that's what it was.
I knew it.
Yeah, I was thinking of you the whole time, Jacob. I'm sure. Yeah. So here's the funny thing. I get to the ground, and I'm waiting for my video and whatnot, and the guy comes over, and I go, man, I appreciate, what you do. This is absolutely amazing. And he looks at my shirt and he goes, you do high-rise window cleaning? And he goes, yeah. He goes, Man, I've been on buildings. I would never climb over that wall like that. I go, are you fucking crazy, dude? I go, we just jumped 15,000 feet. He goes, ask any of these trainers and everything if they would do what you do. And I go, I don't know too many people that would do what you do. The way you leap out of that plane. Right. Like, he goes to me, we're sitting on the edge, and he goes, now,
the difference is there's a fucking parachute, Mark. You know what I mean? That's different.
He goes to me, if we do this right, we're going to do a backflip. You'll get to see the bottom of the plane. I go, how about we just fucking jump out of this bitch? We don't need to do backflips.
Right. Jason Lehman wants to know, how old is too old to get into high-rise window cleaning?
Well, I tell you, there's guys that are older than me that do it, but most of them tell you, it hurts. And it is a
Jason,
physically demanding job.
It's a young man's game. There's a few I see here and there that are in their mid to late 50s still doing it, and you're probably never going to be able to train someone like that because they've been doing it for 30 years the same way. Like the guy that taught me, Mike, he came up with block and tackle, 600 foot of rope to do 10 stories, and he was one of the first guys to start using rack and bar in Hawaii. And he didn't relate to all these new fancy descenders and everything else because that's not the way he was trained. You know what I'm saying?
And I'm 51 this June, and I a couple years ago, I set out on this little mission. I lost a bunch of weight. I'm down now, around 210 pounds because it's even just training. It takes its toll, and it. Look, there's guys that are, in their 70s and they're climbing Mount Everest.
Right.
That doesn't mean most 70-year-olds are going to do it. It just means there's some that can't.
Right. Well, I'm a firm. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think, I tell everybody's kind of been, they ask me, how long you going to do this? How long you going to do this? And it's like, look, I see another 5 years in training. And then, we'll just see where it's at. We'll see where the body's at. But, even I did a back-to-back in Boston a week ago, trainings. And, I'd be lying out of my teeth if I sat here and said my body is fine.
Right. It's a young man's game. I think, honestly, Mike,
I felt that.
I don't know how to divide it up, but it's at least 50% mental and 50% physical. And if you're not there on both of those, like I've had guys come to me. I watched a guy that was a great high-rise guy. I'm on the ground, and I'm looking up, and the ropes are there, and I'm like, where is he? And I call him on the phone. He's like, I'm not feeling this. And I'm like, what? And he's like, I'm just not feeling it. And I'm like, okay, then you need to pull your ropes and go home. Yeah. Well, let me come work on the ground. I go, I didn't hire you to work on the ground. I hired you to do the stuff I don't want to do. You know what I'm saying? And he never went. He was just looking down, staring there. I'm like, what is going on with you, dude? Because yesterday you were a phenomenal window cleaner, and he just, and the one thing, Mike, you say about the age, I watched the guys that worked for me, and one still does, 15, 16 years been with me, doing high-rise every day. I watched them go from living in an apartment to buying a home to getting married to having children, and that's when things start to change. Not that you're not less valuable when you don't have children, but you kind of start to think about maybe I shouldn't be doing this much anymore.
Well, you're not just yourself you're responsible for anymore.
Right. And I use every I'll go into training and somebody will say, oh, I love your descender.
Yeah.
Your boss isn't going to like it. It's around $800.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, what's so great about it? I'm like, well, when you ascend with it, it captures so easy. It's got a gear in it.
Right.
And so I'm going to use every single trick and good piece of equipment I can to give myself at 51 years old the advantage.
Right. So let's talk about that for a minute, Mike, because I'm a rack and bar guy. There's still guys using rack and bar. I think it's slowly being phased out. I do see when I watch the high-rise pages, a lot of these guys are complaining that all this equipment that they're using, these new descenders, simply wear out. Okay, now I use a rack for 15 years. I put a few new bars on it here and there. Very few moving parts. So are these things really safer or safe? If a guy doesn't realize, I guess a guy should realize it's slipping or it's not doing something properly. And let me just say, I went to the SRT after watching Dirty Jobs, and then inquired for some guys, and everybody's like, oh, you got to get the SRT with the stainless cheeks and this and that. And I did. And I was very uncomfortable with it. My hands were tired from, if I squeeze it too hard, it's going to drop really quick. I was just used to the rack and bar. Mm-hmm. So is rack and bar being phased out and we're going to these descenders?
You ask all these loaded questions, Mark.
I tried my best.
Mark is the king of the loaded question.
Yeah. So let me break this down. So are the new, I'll call them the S devices. Okay. So they are they feed the rope in. Most of them are built with anti-panic involved. You can't really screw it up, so to speak. You could rig it backwards, but you won't be able to go down. So is it safer than the rack and bar? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I can take a guy that has never been on ropes before with that type of device. I can run him through training in the morning. I can have him suspended in the afternoon.
Okay.
So it's definitely safer, but there may be a durability.
Yeah, I'll go there. So the safety side of it, absolutely, because you really just can't mess them up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now the durability side, yeah, you're not going to get 15 years out of an S device. Yeah. Like a rack and bar. There's no way. Now we've got there's different brands out there, and I'm not going to pick any one of them apart, but I'll just say this, that we've got some S devices at this point that are they're going on their third season. So yeah, I mean, and they're the run of the mill, not the one I'm using, but the run of the mill is around $300. You are going to replace them more? Yes. But the advantages aren't that. The advantages are more when we start talking about, for instance, if we both got caught up on our rope grab, Mark, and we had to transfer into our safety line to get to the bottom, I will beat you down every single time with an S device versus a rack, every single time.
Okay.
And if I'm going to do any type of ascension work, rack only goes one way, down.
Right.
You're not climbing with a rack. So I can climb with an S device. So it really kind of depends what you're using, what you're going to use it for. The other thing too is ergonomics, and this doesn't get talked about a lot, but if you're on a long drop, you get into your descent or you get into your lock-off mode, you're raising that rope, right? And you start talking to old guys that have been in this business for a long time, and almost every one of them will tell you, I got shoulder issues, I got elbow issues. Yeah, because you've been racking for
400 foot of rope
years.
Is not easy. Yeah.
So my question is this: are S devices old enough to know how long they last yet?
Yeah. Some of them are burning out real quick, so we know that.
So typically, if you spend $800, how often are you spending that $800 in your estimation? Every 4 to 5 years?
Maybe. I'm thinking more 2 to 3-ish.
Holy shit balls.
Okay, Mike. Now I'm gonna fire off a couple here. Now, are these S devices okay with 1/2 inch or 7/16, or is it specific to the device?
Depends on the brand, and then it depends. Like Petzls, for instance, they have a 7/16 and they have a 1/2 inch. So one's gold, one's red.
Okay, so you obviously wouldn't want to put 1/2 inch or 7/16 rope in a 1/2 inch device, correct?
Correct. And then some of them have a range. Like mine has a slider in it like this, so it will range up. It'll go to 1/2 inch or drop into a 7/16.
Okay. So now when these things wear out, what actually happens? They slip. Do they not? Are they not smooth? What lets you know that this is no longer usable?
The rope slipping through.
Okay.
But anybody that's racked before, it's not a big deal to me, because it's not like you're not like you're slipping 3 or 4 feet down. It's just like it's creeping, right?
Yeah, it's slowly creeping down.
Okay, I've run a rack before. I know if I lock this off, I can't creep anymore. So you you lock it off and then you deal with it when you get to the ground. It's not like a sudden descend or anything.
Yeah. Right. Okay, now another question, because I'm not familiar with these S devices other than the SRT. I found that the SRT, until it wore in, was slipping, and I would lock it off just like I would a rack and loop it back over the top. I'm like, this thing is slipping, it's brand new. And I called them up. There's like, you got to wear it in a little bit, and it did. They were correct with that. And the hardness of the rope really has to do how tight the core is wound on the rope, because everything is different. KM3, the black Maxwear ropes are very fast. I at least I found. So let me ask you this. Where was I going? I just got caught up in my own head. Okay, so I'm on a 400-foot building. Okay, on a 400-foot building with a rack and bar, you almost don't have to lock off the rack because it's so much weight pulling through the bars below you. Obviously, you do lock off, but sometimes you have to feed the rope through the rack. Are these devices the same? Meaning, if you got 400 foot below you, are they just as good at 400 feet versus at 50 feet?
It's going to be slower at that height. You're probably not going to have to belay much with the belay hand. You're probably not going to have much, and you may have to feed it slightly.
Yeah,
just like you do with the rack. So okay, the weight of the rope is.
Now,
the weight of the rope is going to be the weight of the rope.
Now, I know with the rack and bar, my guys actually added bars when we bought. Everybody wanted this black Maxwear, or maybe it was I forget, but I think it was the black. I think it was called Maxwear. It's black with a yellow tracer in it, and they didn't like it because it was so fast. Okay, now does that equate to the S devices as well?
I don't think as much.
Yeah,
but there may be some to it, but I don't think as much as with the rack.
So, I know you represent certain companies, so I'm not saying you're biased because you've probably tried everyone. What does Michael Draper recommend for a descender for someone that's learning how to do high-rise work? Even the $800 one versus, I mean, to me, $800 I know going home at the end of the day versus $300. And if something's going to last twice as long, I'm buying the $800 one. I'm not putting a price. So what do you recommend?
If so the descender to me that's getting the longest life, and what we would put if a person's like, look, I'm gonna equip 20 guys, and this is, I just want a good run-of-the-mill descender, we like the Skylotech Sirius. That's the one that's getting the longest life. Now, if you're like, I want to go creme de la creme, I want the deal, my main device at this point is a CMC clutch. But again, it kind of just depends what you're doing. If I was just doing straight up and down stuff all day long, I never had to ascend, never had to do rope to ropes, never had to do any of that stuff, I'd probably just have a Sirius.
Yeah.
But like I said, I'm getting older. I like easy. I like less energy.
Right. So I'm going to say this. I always equated high-rise work with less moving parts better. That's why I always liked a rack. You know what I'm saying? Less moving parts. But these things are all engineered very safe. Now, what about, like I've always had a pet peeve when I go to a roof and I see my guys dragging the rope across a gravel roof. Okay? That bugs me because you're impregnating the rope, even with dust. And then you're grinding it in there with a rack and bar.
I'm not impregnating any ropes.
but are they affected by, like, if the rope gets wet? You know what I'm saying? Like, wet rope is always different than dry rope.
Yeah. Both. Everything's going to do a pretty good job of wringing the wetness out of there. I mean, you could have some slip slide issues, but for the most part, I mean, it's going to be fine. Dirty ropes are dirty ropes. I mean, the ropes can be washed. Actually, most manufacturers say they should be washed. Our industry don't wash them, so they're gritty, they're nasty, and
how
so
do you wash a rope?
That wears an S device.
Commercial laundry. We used to go to the commercial laundry and throw them in.
I was curious, like, how you want rope?
I wish Seth's got it. We got to get that fixed.
Yeah.
It's doing the same thing.
Oh, well, I'll do this then.
I mean, I love you. You're my second favorite part of the show. My favorite part of the show is me, but you're my second favorite part.
That's kind of hang it the wrong.
And when you ask really good questions, and fucking now that first it was you would just disappear, now you're just like all muffled. Michael Draper's all pixelated like he doesn't have an internet signal.
Mike, I was on a podcast with TJ, with Jacob, with Mark, and Charlie Brown.
Charlie Brown's teacher. I was on a podcast with Max Headroom, and Charlie had Charlie Brown's teacher.
Yeah. So, okay, Mike. So let's talk a little bit about your business. As far as someone wants to get a hold of you, someone wants training, someone has questions. I know you're always open to help because that's your whole industry, your whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Our website, our company name is Expert Safety Services.com.
Just turn your volume down a little, Seth.
You can reach me off the site. You can reach me off my cell phone.
Yeah.
We're on Facebook. Any of the methods that are out there, and we're involved with, like I said, we get involved with residential setups. We get involved with really just window cleaners in general. Generally, we've created our safety advocate app and dashboard, and that's really, for most guys, that's probably where they're going to run their safety program because it's the most affordable.
Yeah.
Me coming out and doing training at facilities, I'll be honest, that's generally a company that has multiple guys, things like that.
Yeah, it's expensive. I mean, you got to live too. Makes sense.
I'm not the cheapest guy out there, I'm sure, but so anybody can get in touch. But I answer a lot of questions online. I try to help out. I'm passionate about the industry. I came from the industry, and I want to see at the end of the day, I have to live in the world of compliance, but at the end of the day, my goal is just to get, if it's a high-rise team, I want the high-rise team to go home every day.
Right.
And if you're working with water-fed poles, I want you to never be hit with electricity or have an electrical strike with a water-fed pole.
Does that happen frequently? I mean, every now and again I see it, but
no, it's happening, and it probably happens 3 or 4 times a year, and it's really too much. It's just overconfidence and not thinking things through, and if you're a solar panel cleaner, same thing. I just want you to go home. There's things that can go wrong out there, and so it's really just looking at the site, kind of analyzing it. I want everybody to work. I'm not anti-work. I want you to work. I want you to get a paycheck. I want you to love the business, love the industry that you're in. I just want you to go home. I get asked all too often for GoFundMe stuff because some guy got hit with electrical or got this, got that, or I'm an expert witness in 2 or 3 cases because we're dealing with death, and it's just like, man, that is not the fun part of the industry. I don't like that part. I'd rather work on it on this side than this side.
So how many years were you involved in the window cleaning industry prior to becoming the safety services?
So I started when I was 16 years old.
Wow.
Window cleaning industry, and I always joke I'm in too deep now to get out.
Right.
So we remain. So in 2014, I sold my company. I had a company and sold it, and then we moved over into regulatory and compliance and safety after that.
Was it like a slow go right off the bat? Like all of a sudden Mike shows up and he's going to tell you how to do this safely? Was it well accepted that we finally got someone?
I'd like to say that I had this wonderful business plan and that I executed it perfectly. And, I was a mastermind. But the reality of the situation is timing was everything. I was well received before, but at 2017, OSHA released their general industry standard, and they mentioned window cleaning and high-rise window cleaning and all that. And we were kind of in the forward trajectory of what we were trying to do when they released that.
Yes.
And once they did, we really, really took off because now there was a national standard. Now everybody understood, okay, we've got to train to this. And so I'd be lying to you if I ever sat here and said, this was all well orchestrated and I worked this beautiful plan and all this stuff.
Right. It just kind of played it by ear and it took off.
Timing was really in my favor when I launched Expert. Really in my favor.
Did you miss cleaning windows?
No.
Listen, man. I absolutely love this industry. But I could tell you right now, if there was a way that I could be involved in the industry but not clean windows anymore and still live a good life, then I would be doing that shit for sure. For sure.
So there's very few industries, and I think young guys coming up through and all this really don't respect this enough. But there's very few industries that you can go and make a minimal purchase. You can go to Home Depot,
right?
Grab a $200 bucket of tools, and go out and command $80, $90, $100 an hour doing work. Where else does that happen?
You don't.
Yeah, it's the lowest investment opportunity that.
Now, is there a learning curve there, and are you worth that $100? That's up for debate.
Right.
You know what I mean? Will my $100 an hour be worth more than your $100 an hour? For sure. I've been doing it 20 years.
It's for sure in more demand now. I mean, being in the industry 22 years, I have seen the demand change where so many people don't do anything for their own home, their own business. I mean, when I came up 22 years ago, it was like all I did was triple track storms because they didn't want to deal with that. You know,
Right.
You clean your own windows. It's like what's wrong with you? Now people barely know how to open their windows, put a screen back in. I mean, we're in more demand than I think we've ever been.
Yeah.
It's so it's a beautiful industry. I love it.
Yes.
I spend a lot of time, in different committees and organizations and this and that. And
I think my favorite part of it is the people, to be quite honest. That's my favorite part of it. I mean, my second favorite part next to the people that I've met in the industry is the, I'd say the sweet spot around between like 5:30 and around 7 o'clock in the morning, around June, July. That little sweet spot of time right there, there's nothing like that on the earth. And if you're a window cleaner, you know what I'm talking about. The absolute solace of that. To be earning your paycheck and nobody's around, it's just you. Perfect temperature, you know what I mean? Just soaking in the sun. It's quiet. Unless you've done what we do, you don't know what I'm speaking about. Because, there's what we do is relatively quiet anyways. You know what I mean? It's just squeegee, unless you're Philip Alexander and you're banging frames. But if you're not Philip Alexander, most of us are just really quiet and you're just stealthily moving along. Nobody knows you exist. You know what I mean? You're just out making your $100 an hour. You know what I mean? Like just it's super zen. It really is. It's super zen. And then around 10:30, 11 happens, and you got to go to somebody's house, and then there's fucking, people kicking, like throwing cigarette butts and like lit cigarettes in your fucking bucket of water. I had that happen today. Yeah. Some dude walked into Wendy's today. I shit you not, spit on the side of my bucket and flicked his cigarette.
Oh, that's not good.
In my bucket. And when he came back out, it's the first time in a long time I fucking said something that could have cost me a job. I was like, you're lucky that I'm working right now, because what you just did right there, I'd have knocked your fucking teeth out. And he's like, well, excuse me? I said, you just flicked your lit cigarette in my fucking bucket. Oh, I thought it was for cigarettes. I was like, oh, the thing with the pole sitting next to it was sudsy water. You thought that was for cigarette butts.
Yeah,
okay.
Asshole.
Fucking dickhead. Grabbed my shit and walked. I just like that verbatim said that to him. You're lucky I don't knock your fucking teeth out. You fucking bastard.
That's funny that you say that. Because I had one. We're doing that. We're doing that 4-week story, and we're using a swing stage on it, Mike, because I'm not pressure cleaning on a chair anymore. So we got a 30-foot swing stage. We're over an entranceway on a side entrance. The entrance is, we've got 6 or 8 men working above cones there. Mm-hmm. Okay, the door is not locked, but there's cones on the inside, cones on the outside, men working above. Some guy from like an AV company. We're only like 15 feet up because there's a concrete band. Okay, we're stopped on this. We already put the bleach down and we're pressure washing it off. And this guy's standing there with boxes of AV shit in his hand. And so Mark, my guy, was pressure washing. I'm like, hey, stop. And I go, you can go through. Well, he walks under the swing stage, and he kicks the cones out of the way. Like, he had one free hand, but he decides to, field goal my traffic cones, right? And that just went up my ass so bad. So I go, another guy that was with him, I go, hey, you tell that asshole that if he comes back through this door, I am going to soak his fucking ass. And he goes, that guy stood the cones back up. He was trying to diffuse the situation, right? This was like 9 o'clock this morning. I'm like, I'm already angry, right? So we go all the way up to the top. We're coming down. All of a sudden, I hear he's driving a van, toot toot, and I look over and he's flipping me off in his van. Right? Well, what he doesn't realize is his van. I call the company, right? I call the company and I said, I need to speak to either the owner or the top guy there. And this guy gets on the phone. And I told him what happened. I go, listen, it's not the cones. You don't hurt the cones. We stopped what we were doing courteously to let him through. Okay, we stopped pressure washing. I go, and that asshole employee, I go, maybe he's the owner. I don't know. But that asshole kicked my shit. I go, so I'm going to tell you now, I'm pretty good with the building manager and the chief engineers here. If you guys never want to come back, that can happen. And he's like, no, let me apologize and this and that. He was cool about it, but it just set me off. The lack of respect is what pissed me off today.
I don't know what it was about the cigarette butt, man. I smoke cigarettes, but I don't know what it was. It was just like, you son of a bitch.
Yeah, a cigarette in your water is kind of annoying for sure.
Yeah.
If it would have been Squeegee at 35, I might be in jail right now. I was pissed, dude.
Man, it's been great. I don't try to hit nobody.
I could feel my ears. They were hot. I was so pissed off. I wanted to strangle this fucking guy. I was just, but I was just like, I knocked your fucking teeth out, dude. You son of. I don't know what it was, dude. I mean, it's honestly harmless. I mean, he really didn't do anything too terrible.
I look at it like this.
Just like, when you told him,
when he said to you, I thought it was for cigarettes, but if he would have reached down and scooped it out of the bucket, I would have been okay with that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But did he just walk away?
No, he just kept walking like, bebop to his fucking Honda Civic. You know what I mean? Like, you fucking trash bag. You fucking dirt bag.
So, Michael, I have a question for you. You said you get about another 5 years left till you want to address it. Let's say you have to readdress it. What do you want to do if doing safety is not, or that part of safety is not in your repertoire anymore?
Yeah, I think I think I'll still be in the game. I'm not saying that. The training aspect of it is probably the most
aspect of
demanding. It. Yeah, so the site safety stuff and the
he wants to be on a boat with a fishing rod in his hand getting phone calls about it.
Yeah. So, but our anchor division, I envision us still being involved in that. I still envision us being involved in our safety advocate app and the site safety, the audits that we do for companies and stuff like that. It's just the training piece. And actually, we've used Chris, your guest that you had. We've used Chris to do some trainings for us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Gotten either double booked or somebody's like, we need you this day, and I just can't.
That dude needs to tell that story.
Yeah.
We told him, I was like, dude, you need to tell that story. You need to let people know. Like that. So, I mean, I would have never in a million years, that would have never crossed my mind. Not one time. In all of our discussions in window cleaning over 5 years, has it ever crossed my mind that your rope could melt in half 300 feet in the air? I would have never have guessed that when he said that. I was like, what? That's insanity. Insanity.
Yeah. So I've got sons in the business, so we'll see what they want to do. At this point in time, they're involved in other things. They'll do site visits for me. They do the anchor work and stuff for me. Mm-hmm. At this point in time, they have no interest whatsoever in the training aspect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And my youngest son is actually, he was one of the youngest, or he was the youngest person that ever went through the train the trainer PPE competent person. But I think he's seen me. I mean, high-rise window cleaners are a little different breed, and you kind of gotta be able to go toe to toe. And they didn't really come from the industry like that, so they don't really feel comfortable. I can go at it with anybody, and I'll get on the ropes with you, and I'll jump and we'll prove our points or whatever. They don't really they've seen that in classes, and they just really don't want any part of it. So we'll see. Maybe as they get older, they'll decide they want to. But
let me ask you something, Mike. And I see a lot of this, and I never did it because I probably didn't have the nuts to. But I see a lot of these guys. Mike Arosa, to me, that dude's a legend. The way he cleans windows, and I don't know how safe he actually is, but I'm sure he knows what he's doing because
wasn't he wearing a helmet when he was on the?
Yeah, I watched that guy standing on a skylight on the downward,
cool.
dancing around and scrubbing windows, and I'm just like, but I see a lot of these guys flip themselves upside down 15 feet off the building and take a picture. I mean, the hot dogging thing, I'm still not sold on that. Is that a good idea?
Are you asking the safety guy, is it a good idea to flip upside down and take a picture? I'm going to lean towards it's probably not a good idea, Mark.
Yeah.
There, I saved you.
Yeah, look, I don't, I probably get tagged, I don't know, at least 20 times a day on social media.
I can imagine. Hey, Michael Draper, what do you think of this?
He's probably not enjoying it too much.
No. Oh, we lost him?
Mike froze.
Oh, he froze. Shit.
Oh, he'll come back. He'll be back. Did you guys see that video?
Am I there?
Yeah, you're back, Mike.
Yeah, you're just, you broke up real bad there. We can hear you, you're just visually, you're not.
Okay. Yeah, I try to not use social media as a platform to teach because I started off that way. I tried to do that, and what you get is you get a bunch of people with their opinions,
Yeah,
and a person that's really trying to seek out the right answer, they can't get it because there's all the static.
You got to filter through all that bullshit to find the answer, and that's not a good spot.
If I see a person's genuine, generally I'll see the question on social media and I'll just PM them.
Yeah.
I'll say, hey, I seen you ask that question, but I don't respond generally.
That's the same way I do things.
If I get tagged in some of these other things that is like, hey, Michael Draper, what do you think of this? I'm just kind of like,
cool, dude. Yeah. Well, Mike, I really appreciate you coming on. I mean, again, second year in a row. I really like having you on during High Rise Month because we have, the guys that are, the high rise guys cleaning the glass still, I get that, but it's nice to have somebody of your tenure come on and kind of give the audience the safety and the inside and out technical part of this as well, so all the bases are covered, and I feel that it's a good way to cap off the year.
100%. I mean, I'll be honest with you, we had some great guests again.
Oh yes, amazing
and thank
guests.
you to all of them, but I when I saw Mike texted me and I'm like, please tell me he's coming on because I need, and again, not that the other guys aren't professional, I need someone that's going to put this back on the ground.
Yeah.
Because
grounded a little bit, yeah.
Right. So, Mike, we hope you're going to come back again next year or anytime in between.
Yeah,
you're
anytime.
welcome to reach out and come say hello. And we appreciate everything you do for the industry. And keep up the good work.
Yes, sir.
Hey, thanks a bunch, guys. Thanks for having me on again. And reach out to me anytime. I appreciate it so much.
Yeah,
Give us your website again.
ExpertSafetyServices.com.
Perfect. All right, everybody. We'll see you next week. And thanks again, bye-bye. Mike. We'll see you guys later.
Bye, guys.
Hope you guys enjoyed it and all that good stuff and all that stuff and all that jazz and all them things.
Nice.
One of these days it'll start, the intro, the outro will play, and then we'll...